Hey, what's going on, black people? What's happening? I hope you guys are doing well. My name is Dr. Boyce Watkins, and welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent black people. I want to ask you all, give me a yes or no in the chat. Give me a yes or no. How many of you heard about the verdict in the Jussie Smollett case? Give me a yes or no if you heard about the Jussie Smollett verdict. I assume you heard it and you followed it and you saw what went down. Jussie's going to be sent to jail. Or better yet, he's going to be sentenced. I don't know if that means he's going to go to jail, but it turns out that his whole racially motivated attack was just a hoax, that it was all a bunch of nonsense. And so, Tomiko, it is something that I'm discussing this, and I want to come at it from a different angle from what you might have heard in media, right? I'm not really here to get riled up over just the politics of it all, but I just kind of want to have an intelligent black conversation about this because it's almost a joke. I mean, well, it's not almost a joke. It is a joke. It's a damn joke. I mean, the guy, what Jussie Smollett makes me think about. Anybody ever known? Anybody ever have a friend who was like a crackhead or like on drugs? And what happens when people get on drugs is they'll come up with an idea and they'll really think it's a good idea, right? Like they'll really think it's a good idea, but really it'll be like the craziest shit you ever heard. Anybody ever know somebody like that? Well, when they get high, they start talking and they think they sound smart, but they really sound stupid, right? Like that's what I think about with Jussie, because the whole way the whole Jussie Smollett thing was even contrived was absolutely insane. It was nuts. It was nuts. First of all, I mean, just beginning with the fact that Jussie picked two black dudes to play the white guys. That right there, that's some more crackhead shit. I'm saying that's some more crackhead. Like he needs to go to rehab just even by thinking that if you're gonna get two white boys to pretend to be, if you're gonna get somebody to pretend to be white boys, get some white boys. Like you got two of the blackest dudes ever to like play white guy. That right there is weird. That's weird. That's even weirder than when they pick a white lady to play like Cleopatra or something like that, right? And then so I want to ask y'all this. How many of y'all, give me a yes or no in the chat? How many of y'all knew? How many of y'all knew genuinely? Just be 100% honest. How many of you knew from the jump that Jussie was lying? How many of y'all knew from the very jump like that Jussie like was full of crap? Like Jussie, I keep saying Jussie was full of crap. I'm gonna tell y'all, I knew that it was BS. I knew it was BS because I live in Chicago, right outside Chicago. Anybody who lives in Chicago knows that on the night this crime happened, you don't understand. It was beyond cold that night. It was like literally, I kid you not. I remember listening to the TV and they said something like, it's the coldest day in the last 50 years or something. It was something crazy like that where it was so cold. I couldn't even go into my garage. I told my wife, I said, babe, I went to the garage for 2 seconds in my warmest robe and I still froze my butt off. Like I'm not, you don't even go out there and breathe the air. Like it'll freeze your lungs. Like it was that cold. So when I heard that it all happened that night, I said, that's crazy. Like, no, ain't nobody out there. What you really? You're a celebrity. You going out looking for a sub on the coldest night in 50 years. Like, really, at 2:00 in the morning. You really try to go to Subway 2:00 in the morning on the coldest night in 50 years. Again, only a crackhead would think that story makes sense. Only a crackhead. Then there was another crackhead part of the story was the way it so politely fit into the media's whole narrative that we're all going to get murdered by white supremacists next Tuesday. Like that the Proud Boys going to come to our house and kill everybody, and all the Trump supporters are going to come murder you, y'all. They're going to come kill you. I know a lot of white people voted for Trump, and ain't none of them ever tried to pull up on me yet. Not once. I ain't had one single. So it's funny, right? So the Trump supporting white supremacists that are out at 25 below zero at 2:00 in the morning looking for a Subway sandwich, that are really black guys dressed as white guys. I think they painted their faces white or something like that. Also, the other interesting part was the fact that they again, crackhead. This is only makes sense to a crackhead. This whole idea that they said, that's that nigger, you're that nigger from Empire, right? That they literally are going to recognize Jussie Smollett. How many of y'all, like I'm talking to black people, how many of y'all would have recognized Jussie Smollett on the street before 2019? Like how many of y'all before this incident would even know if I said, "Oh yeah, you know who Jussie Smollett is," or you saw him on the street? How many of you would really stop and be like, "You're that guy from Empire"? Seriously, don't get me wrong. Some of y'all watch Empire, and it's okay. I'm not judging, but you really think Trump supporting rednecks are gonna recognize Jussie Smollett from Empire at 2 o'clock in the morning on the coldest night in 50 years? Really? Like again, I'm telling you, like I don't know how much I talked about it when it first happened, but I remember saying that story's just stupid. That don't make no damn sense, and it's crazy. And here's why I wanted to address it, because you know me, I like to dig deeper. I like to go. I believe in being black and proud and intelligent. I think that we should want to be intelligent people, which means doing critical analysis, going beneath the surface. And here's what was going on with your country. What you saw was that people were so caught up in their frenzy, their political frenzy, that they would take any story any asshole would throw out for them as bait. They would have taken any story. He could have said that those white guys showed up in tutus and that they had wings on their back and corn cobs growing out of their ears, and they would have believed it, because this is what happens when you allow this Democrat Republican stuff to cause you to get so devoted to taking a side that you do not listen to facts and information. You do not listen to logic. You do not listen to common sense. So what happened was even the mainstream media grabbed the story and they ran with it. They ran with it because they were willing to accept any lie in order to prove their existing theory. They could not think about this, right? If people are really getting chopped up and killed every single day by white supremacists, would you really have to go make up a story in order to find it? Like, wouldn't you have stories everywhere? Like, so imagine this, for example, imagine if I said, you know, a lot of black folks are getting killed by gangbangers or getting killed in the hood. Do you think I'd have to go make up a story and find a black guy who was murdered by a white person or something and pretend like the white guy was really black and say, no, he was black? Like literally, do you think I'd have to make a story like that up? Or do you think that I could probably find 25 examples in the last week alone in cities like Chicago and other places? Right? Seriously, I wouldn't have to make it up. It's because it's everywhere. It's happening everywhere. In fact, tomorrow I'm going to the graduation of my homeboy's daughter. My best friend Greg got killed when we were 25. He got murdered in the hood in front of his daughter. Right? Like literally, like this is everywhere. How many of you as black people know somebody who was killed over some like hood shit? Like seriously, give me a yes in the chat or say their name. Say their name if you know somebody who was murdered in a situation that just didn't make no sense. That wasn't even right. You know, a drug deal, somebody got mad, somebody stepped on somebody's toe at the club or whatever. Right. So a lot of us go through that. And so, but one of the things we can't really typically relate to is, you know, the idea that, you know, that my black friend was killed by some MAGA hat wearing Proud Boy, you know, that just wanted to kill black people for breakfast. Most of my friends don't have a story like that. We don't have stories like this. Was all made up. It doesn't mean America's not racist now. I'm not saying America ain't racist. Y'all know I talk about racism all the time. I talk about racism all the time. The reason that this false racism pisses me off is because you're missing the real racism when you follow the dog whistle politics. The dog whistle politics is causing you to miss the real racism in America. You see, this is why, for example, you can have shout out to Roosevelt Mitchell III out of St. Louis. Roosevelt Mitchell III brought up on his Instagram, and I shared it on my Instagram, the Real Boyce Watkins, which by the way is shadow banned because I guess I pissed somebody off. I don't know. But Roosevelt mentioned, he said this is interesting that 1,000 homicides happened in Chicago this year. Did y'all know that? How many of y'all knew that? How many of y'all knew that there were 1,000 homicides in Chicago? There were 1,000 homicides in Chicago, a heavily Democratic-run district. The Democrats are running that. So many black people die in Democratic-run cities that you would think that they want us dead. They want us dead. And I'm sorry, I'm sorry if I'm getting too riled up about it, but it pisses me off. It's like, how in the hell are you gonna tell me 1,000 black people died in Chicago this year? Y'all ain't got nothing to say about it. You declared all these emergencies over the pandemic. But you can't declare a state of emergency over dead black people. But yet you run around talking about Black Lives Matter. But we can only talk about a Black Lives Matter and if they were taken out by a Proud Boy or a cop. But yet Black Lives Matter don't matter at all when these black people being killed right in their own damn neighborhoods. Seriously. What is wrong with you people? You're too stupid to be on TV. You're too stupid to be in power. You're too stupid to be running this country. And if you support that nonsense, I'm questioning your intelligence too. I really am. I'm not trying to be mean because I understand we got to be patient with people. It's going to take time to get there. But I'm literally trying to lay this out for y'all right now. Dog whistle politics makes you dumb. That's why I repeatedly tell you guys, I do not get caught up in the Democrat Republican nonsense. I don't. I'm not participating in any of that. I'm black first. That's it, period. I'm not no Democrat, not a Republican. But I'm sitting here watching this. And I was sitting there the whole time, sitting there saying, wow, they really are so desperate to find something that fits their bullshit narrative that they'll believe any crappy story that anybody comes up with. I mean, right after that happened, Jussie Smollett was going on stage. I'm the gay Tupac. I'm the great. I whoop their asses. I fought back. I'm the gay. And everybody's like, Black Lives Matter. And the whole time I was sitting there like, I wonder if they're ever going to find out that this guy's lying. And then I wonder if they're going to be able to cover for his lie. Like they'll probably, I figured they cover for it. I figured, he would never get arrested. Some of the Obamas might cover. I didn't know. I didn't know. But I'm telling you, when you start getting to the point where you are so emotional about something that you don't see facts and logic anymore, then you're not helping the cause at all. Because remember, while they've got you caught up in dog whistle politics, like black people are only dying because Proud Boys and Trump supporters are murdering everybody. Let me ask you this: out of those 1,000 homicides in Chicago, how many of those homicides do you think were committed by Proud Boys or Trump supporters just deciding I want to kill you because you're black? How many of those kids? How many? Seriously, I'm not defending the Proud Boys or defending the Trumps. I'm just saying how many of those homicides? 1,000, right? Seriously, Young Dolph got shot down in Memphis, got murdered down in Memphis. If Young Dolph had been killed by a white boy or a cop or a Trump supporter, y'all be protesting in the streets. Ain't nobody protesting. They're like, black people die every week. As long as a black person kills them, it's okay. Right? Seriously, it's ridiculous to me. It's absolutely ridiculous, and it bothers me. And here's what I think is really happening. Right? They create this false narrative that your only fear is that a white, some white supremacist is going to bust through your door and kill your whole family. Right? Which means that when they got you afraid of something that's not real, they get you to be not afraid of the things you should be afraid of, right? If I can get you to afraid of something that is imaginary, then I'll get you to let your guard down with all the threats that are real. Do you understand what I'm saying? Give me a yes if you understand what I'm saying right now. If I get you focused on the illusion, then you'll never notice the real threat when it's coming. So I see the threats. Don't get me wrong. I see the white supremacy everywhere. I see the racism. I see all of that. But I'm not looking at Jussie Smollett. First of all, that's one guy, one situation with one guy. Even if it was true that some crazy redneck hillbilly white boys decided to beat his ass, what the hell that got to do with me? What the hell that got to do with me? I'm not going to be out at 2 o'clock in the morning in 25 below weather looking for a damn Subway sandwich anyway. I don't even understand any of that. None of that shit made sense to me from the jump. Yeah, keep your ass home with your family, man. What are you doing? That's weird. Order DoorDash. You rich. You supposed to be rich. You can't order Uber Eats, and you really got to go out in 25 below. So it ain't got nothing to do with me. It's not my politics. That's the first thing. Number two, when I'm looking at threats, I see threats everywhere. You know where I see the threats? The threats are the black complacency that they use to lull you to sleep, that keeps you from being able to fight for real issues because they keep feeding you the dog whistle. So you show up and you're like, our neighborhoods are falling apart. We need some assets. We need some resources in those neighborhoods. Black man beat up by a white guy in Georgia. There's a black man 1,000 miles away from you who got into a fight with a white guy. Racism. Justice for Tyrone. Justice for Tyrone. Pay attention now. You don't know nothing about Tyrone. You don't know nothing about that situation. That situation ain't got nothing to do with you. Seriously, you don't know what. I'm serious for real. Is it not conceivable that this dude just got into it with a white boy and it had nothing to do with race? Like, seriously, is that not conceivable? Am I the crazy one for bringing that up? Seriously. And what the fuck does that got to do with you, yo, black ass sitting over in Virginia or in New York? It ain't got nothing to do with you. But you have been trained to believe that it does. You've been trained to believe that it does. So when I got you riled up about Tyrone, who got into a fight with a white boy down in, Cincinnati or some shit, you are not focusing on the real issues. Nothing real is happening in your life because now all your energy, pay attention now. Tell me if you get what I'm saying. All your energy now that should have been spent fighting for reparations is now fighting for justice for Tyrone. We got to get justice for Tyrone. Justice for Tyrone. So Tyrone gets justice, right? So like, let's say Ahmaud Arbery, maybe he's the Tyrone, right? Justice is for Ahmaud Arbery, and the Democrats show up and say, "We got justice for Ahmaud. We got justice for Tyrone." And you're like, "Yeah, thank you." And then they're like, "Now you're gonna go vote for us, right? Because we got justice for Tyrone." I'm sorry, my heart goes out to Tyrone, but I want justice for all the thousands, hundreds of Tyrones that are getting murdered in the hood every day that you're not even paying attention to. I want to know about those. I want that justice, right? So here's what I'm saying, right? I don't want to disrupt your sensibilities about some of the social justice issues. I'm not here to undermine the empathy you might feel for the George Floyd case or any of these other situations. But not one of these goddamn cases has a damn thing to do with you. Not one of y'all were there when those situations happened, and not one of you has seen any benefit in your life on any level as a result of the justice that was received for any of those individuals. Let Ben Crump go handle that. Let him go file a lawsuit and get his pay, get his money, get a big check for the family, get money for Breonna. I want all of them to get crazy paid. God bless you. Good luck. I love it when black people are winning. But at the end of the day, I think you need to really pay attention. I think you need to pay attention. First of all, they're making you into symbolism suckers. They make you suckers for symbolism. Says you sucking like a crack pipe. I need some more symbolism. Right? And that's what they do. They give you the drug of symbolism. You sucking it up because you ain't got nothing real to hold on to. Because all around you, the whole world is falling apart. All around you, you had 1,000 homicides in Chicago this year. 1,000. Do you know how big that number is? Think about how that's like, what, 4 or 5 a week? Wait, no, sir. I'm sorry. Silly me. I meant to say 20 a week. Sorry. I used to teach math. I should have known how to do that calculation. That's 20 homicides a week, 20 George Floyds a week in one city alone. That's 20 Breonna Taylors a week. That's 20 Ahmaud Arbery's a week. Right? Seriously, per week in one city. I'm not talking about Philadelphia. Record number of homicides in Philadelphia. I'm not talking about H-Town. I'm not talking about LA. I'm not talking about New York. I'm just talking about Chicago. 1,000 homicides in your community that is supposed to be protected and defended by your beloved Democrats. I'm not telling you to go be a Republican. I'm not saying that at all. But shit, if those are your friends, you don't need no enemies because your enemies are doing a damn good job of killing you. See, so I see the threats. The threats are 1,000 homicides in Chicago. That's a threat. The threats are that because they got you justice for Ahmaud or whatever, now they're forcing you to get injections of only God knows what into your body, where they're not even telling you what's in the damn injection. I'm not telling you that you shouldn't go get those jabs. You can go get those jabs if you want to. But when I saw that they released the announcement that they weren't going to reveal the results of the studies of side effects for 75 years or some shit like that, or maybe it was 50 years, you gonna try to convince me they ain't got nothing to hide? What you think I was born last week? Seriously, I mean, how crazy you got to be to just be okay with that? They have protection from liability. You cannot sue them. You cannot sue. So if you get that injection and something goes wrong, you cannot sue. And then also, they're not going to reveal the results of the studies of the side effects for 50 years. So what I'm saying to you is that these people are some liars, man. They lie. They not only do they lie, but they will defend the lie. Just they think about it. These people are so desperate to create a false and create and maintain a false narrative that they were backing Jussie Smollett till the end, until they absolutely had to give it up. And then even then, they somehow flipped it into saying, "Well, it was really Trump's fault." So I'm sorry. Don't get me wrong. Trump ain't no great guy, but I have no idea how it was Trump's fault that Jussie Smollett went out and made up this whole narrative and that everybody ran with it. I don't know how any of that was So to me, you're desperate at that point. So here's what I would say. One of the things you got to pay attention to is when they use dog whistle politics, when they overly racialize everything, what they're basically doing is they're playing you for a sucker and they're undermining your humanity. Right? If I reduce every conflict you have or every situation you're in to simply white and black every time without even taking the time to get the facts of the situation, I'm stealing your ability to simply be a human being. Maybe you got into it with that guy because you thought he was an asshole. He thought you were an asshole too. How about that be a possibility? Why does it always have to be the assumption that it's racial, right? Because again, it doesn't mean things aren't racial in America. They can be. The racism I see is the systematic racism. When I go to downtown Chicago, run by the Democrats, I see $100 million buildings that are owned by white people. And then I go to the South and the West side where black people are being shot up in the streets with nothing, with no resources. And the white people who are feeding you all the symbolism ain't feeding you none of the goddamn money. They'll feed you the symbolism because symbolism is for suckers and suckers come cheap. Suckers come cheap. So they say, look, we ain't gonna give you no money, but we'll give you symbolism, because if you crazy enough to think that symbolism matters, then we'll feed you symbolism all day. They printing symbolism like cryptocurrency. Seriously, they just Black Lives Matter. Well, if Black Lives really matter, then take one of those 2 or 3 of those $100 million buildings in downtown Chicago and sign them over to black people right now, so we can take those facilities and sell them and put resources in the community. How about that? Gory Leadfoot. Her name's Lori Lightfoot, but I call her Gory Leadfoot because she's ugly and she gets on my damn nerves. So I'm sorry, she just does. I'm sorry. I know y'all. Somebody may make it into, well, boys just saying something negative about a black woman. Well, yeah, sometimes I do. If you're raggedy, I'm gonna talk about you. I'm sorry. I have zero connection to any of this, because none of this moves the needle. You have more black people dying than ever, and somehow, some way, they're going to scour the whole earth to try to find some situation where a white guy killed a black guy and say, this is why black people are dying. But yet at the same time, that black people are dying everywhere. Like, you're literally dying, dropping like flies, right? From all kinds of stuff. And you're like, well, black people are dying over there and over there and over there and over there. They're like, well, I didn't see any of that, but I did see that one situation in South Carolina. Really? Really? So the situations they see happen to be the ones that fit into their narrative. Because here, pay attention. Here's where it all comes full circle. How they steal your economics. This dog whistle politics works because it keeps you in fear. Because if I keep you in fear, I don't actually have to do anything for you. Because every time you come to me and ask for something, I can tell you, well, you know what? That would be important, but it's not important now because we got an emergency. It's good. The world's coming to an end. They coming to kill you. Trump's boys gonna come kill you. So just vote. Just give me a vote, and then we'll talk about it after. When Ice Cube came on here and he was up here trying to talk to the Democrats, and me and him were talking quite a bit at that time. Do you know what they said? They said something like, well, we just gotta get Trump out of office now, and then we'll talk about all these black issues after the election. Well, after the election, they never called him back. The only time he could get them on the phone or to have a meeting was when they needed something from black people, and they knew that he was one of the people that was blocking them from getting what they wanted. Once they had what they wanted, they dumped you on the side of the road like a $2 hooker. They left you on the corner like a $2 hoe. Seriously, They literally say, well, you keep playing yourself for a sucker, then we're gonna keep treating you like a sucker, because suckers get the life sucked out of them. So you make a decision. You make a decision. But I'm gonna tell you, over in this space, my goal is to make this space completely sucker free, complete sucker free. So if you're a sucker, then don't come back. Go do what you're gonna do. I wish you the best. I hope your strategy works. God bless you and all your allies. But over here, no, I'm gonna call it for what it is. That Jussie Smollett situation was BS from the start. I'm trying not to cuss so much, so I'm not gonna say what I want, what I'm really thinking. Y'all know what it is, but it was BS from the start. A lot of smart people could see right through it, and even if it had been true, what does that got to do with the price of tea in China? It ain't got nothing to do with the price of tea in China, because your people are still dying in the street. Democrat, Republican, your people still dying in the street. You're the one that's going to have to fix that at some point by taking a stand on certain issues. Also, when you talk about the important things like, well, look, if you love me, when white folks are around talking about Black Lives Matter and all this stuff, okay, Lori Lightfoot, I go through downtown Chicago and I see about 1,000 buildings that are worth tens of millions, hundreds, maybe over 100, $200 million all throughout Chicago. I'm going to pick out the biggest ones, and I want you to sign those buildings over to Black people, sign that real estate over to us, so that we can then use that to supply something to our community. I want you to do that, and then tell me Black Lives Matter. If people aren't willing to write a check, then their words mean absolutely nothing. And that's what you got to learn about these politics, man. These politicians. These politicians will lie to you as long as you will accept a good lie over the uncomfortable truth. So let's dig for the truth, man. So the Jussie Smollett thing, I don't care nothing about Jussie. I just I think the Empire is a show for other people. It's not my type of show. I think Lee Daniels is a sick son of a bitch. He's mentally ill. I think Jussie Smollett was a guy who was lying because he was desperate and wanted to save his career and make himself relevant. Again, I think that his lie, you know what his lie made me think of? I told my mom, I said, he telling them crackhead stories, man. Like he sound like a crackhead, like that really thinks, he probably really thought this was a good plan. He was really sitting with his friends like, yeah, man, this is gonna be great. We're gonna really have a come up off of this. Like, I think he really thought it was gonna, and it made me think about, remember Tootie from The Facts of Life? Kim Fields played Tootie on The Facts of Life. And there was one episode I saw. This is the episode that made me say no to drugs. So you got to say no to drugs, or you be out here telling crackhead stories, thinking that you're making sense, but you're not, because drugs mess up your brain. So I watched this episode where it was like one of those just say no type episodes. And Tootie had tried weed. She tried marijuana, right? Because back then marijuana was bad, right? So Tootie goes and the night before a big test, she smokes some weed and writes her paper, right? And she gets up the next morning. She says, "Mrs. Garrett, I wrote this paper and it was really good. I want you to read it because I think it was really good." So she goes, so Mrs. Garrett's like, "Okay, well, let me read it." And she reads it and it says, like, "The whale is big." and she's like, "Tootie, what is this? This doesn't make any sense." She's like, "Yeah, Mrs. Garrett, it sounded like a good idea back when I was back when I was writing it. I thought that it was a good idea, but I guess it wasn't such a good idea." So it kind of just made me think about that episode of The Facts of Life where Tootie, was getting high and thought that her ideas were good ideas, but they weren't good ideas. So with Jussie Smollett, that to me, that was like a crackhead plan. That's why you don't let the crackheads make the plan, because the crackheads go think it's a good idea, but it's not. And then also I just think that it was like it's a reminder also just in generally in your life, like when you get around, I hate drugs. Like I hate what drugs have done generally to the Black community, what they've done to our families, all this stuff. And also I would just tell you, just as a little Uncle Boyce advice, don't go into business with a drug addict. Don't get into a relationship with a drug addict. Just drug addicts will mess up. They're gonna mess up your stuff every single time. So, and if you are, thinking about your own life, don't mess with anything that's gonna really alter your mind like that. You got to be alert. If you're really trying to fight this whole thing, this whole white supremacy thing, or trying to accomplish your goals, trying to become successful, everything else, you have to be mentally alert. If you're not mentally alert, if you are under the influence of a mind-altering substance, you will make mistakes. You won't be ready. You're going to be vulnerable. They're going to take you out. Malcolm X said it. He said that the white man will sell you the liquor bottle and then lock you up for being drunk. right? He said that he'll sell you the liquor bottle and then lock you up for being drunk because they want the black man to be high. They want the black man to be drunk. They want the black man to be out of his mind. They want the black man to be knocked out and laid out and unconscious. Why? Well, because the conscious, intelligent black man is the biggest threat in the world. When you have an intelligent, conscious black man who's fully alert and not afraid of you, that is a tremendous threat. So when I think about conscious, intelligent, and on their game, I think about people like Nuri Muhammad from the Nation of Islam. You ain't never gonna see Nuri passed out on the corner drunk. You ain't gonna see Nuri out here talking about, hey man, where the liquor and the weed, where the hoes at, man? You ain't gonna see Nuri walking around with eyes blurry, just kind of barely hanging on. No, you see Nuri's ready. Nuri's a soldier. Nuri's a guy I will go to battle with any day of the week. These are solid people. Look for those solid people in your life because those are the people that you can build with. That's why I love my soldiers. I always give a shout out to my soldiers, the veterans that are in this group, because those you all have a lot of that as well. Like they because that's the military doesn't let you do that type of stuff. You gotta get on code, get on mission, get the job done. Don't be scared. You got to fight for what you want. You have to make a plan. You have to be strategic. Those are the people that help us win battles, right? This other stuff that they're promoting to you, rappers who use drugs every single day and then rap about it to children, those motherfuckers are worse than the Klan. They are worse than the KKK. They do more damage to the black community than the Klan ever could. Because if the Klan delivers the poison, you ain't gonna take it. But if they deliver the poison with your favorite rapper to a dope beat, oh, you'll dance right along to your own genocide. So just keep that in mind. That's what it is. That's what I'm seeing. So please be very careful. My sister's asking, do you drink alcohol? No, I do not. But I do not judge those who do. I think alcohol in moderation is fine. I don't, again, I don't mess with it. I say be careful though, because there are studies out here that say that alcohol actually is the most dangerous drug in the world. And the part of the reason that it's so dangerous is because people are not afraid of it. They think it's okay. They think it's safe, right? So actually, if you count up the number of deaths, alcohol leads the pack. It blows away crack, heroin, everything else. If you count up the number, like broken families and people getting arrested and just terrible things happening, alcohol's near the top of the list. So I don't mess with it, but because it's so popular, I don't say much about it. And so when I go out places and people want to drink, I just say, hey, I'll be the designated driver. But I'm telling you, when I get out here, I think, and this is generally speaking, ain't nothing wrong with thinking like this in my view. I encourage you, if you think like this already, I want to encourage you to let that part of yourself out. I always felt as a black man, I want to be a competitor with the world. I want to achieve my goals. And in order for me to be an optimal competitor, I have to be alert. I have to be ready. I have to be observant of what's going on. I have to be conscious, woke on every level, like real woke, not fake woke, not Black Lives Matter woke, not Democratic Party woke. I'm talking about like really woke to the point where you can question and observe everything. And a person who's under the influence is not capable of doing that. So that person is typically very easily exploited. So just be thoughtful about your policy on drugs and alcohol. I'm not here to judge you. I'm not here to preach to you and tell you what you should and shouldn't do. I'm just here to encourage you to seek out whatever solution makes you into your best self. Because when a black person shows up as their best self, white supremacy can't stop that. White supremacy can't stop that. If you put black excellence and white supremacy in the same room and they get in a fight, black excellence wins 157-12. Like white supremacy cannot defeat black excellence on any level. So be excellent. Okay. So anyway, I'm going to go, guys. I hope you guys have a good night. Some of you were asking about the recording for the event earlier tonight. Go just sign up. I think if you let me see here. Get a free copy of my ebook. We'll email something out tomorrow. So if you go to the link in the bio, or if you go to boycewatkins.com, you will find a link to get a free copy of my book. What it'll do is it'll put you on the email list, and you'll get an email where you can check out the recording and stuff like that. They're going to send that out, I think, tomorrow. So anyway, guys, have a good night. I'm going to bed. God bless you. Love you. And I will see you soon. Take care. And don't be out here. If you're going to go tell a lie, like don't get high first, like, because you're going to make yourself look stupid like Jussie. So I'll talk to you guys later. Love you. Peace.